We are going to begin to explore the topic of risk management. For some of you, many of these concepts will not be new. You practice them intuitively every day. However, an investigation into the recent rise in failed projects, the financial meltdown, and the deadly environmental hazards occurring globally have proven that non-inclusion of risk management in the planning and entire stage of the project, poor and total neglect of project risk management practices, and overlooking minor risks do account for the majority of failed projects. While experts have stated that a proper and strong project risk management process can reduce project problems by as much as 75 to 90%, combining it with concrete project management plans, defining a proper scope, and managing change in communication, a good project risk management strategy helps in reducing and eliminating surprises and unexpected project risks. A good project management strategy can also help with resolving problems when they occur. To have a better understanding, ability to structure, implement, and execute a good project risk management practice, we need to understand the processes involved in project risk management properly. This presentation will explain project risk management, identify key processes, discuss risk identification and quantification. We will explore risk response development and control. We will review the project risk management process and highlight some golden rules. We also will look at what happens when a project goes south. Project risk management, according to the literature, is a term that encompasses and involves all processes concerned with identification, analyzing, and responding to project risk. It also consists of maximizing the results of likely positive events and the minimization of the impacts of negative events. Also, according to project management professionals, before we begin a project risk management process, we must have a justified knowledge of major key definitions. Project risks, according to the Project Management Institute perspective, are, at their core, unknown events. These events are often positive or negative. This makes risk neutral, though most time is spent on tackling the negative project risks or threats rather than the positive, which are also called opportunities. A proper project risk management includes the following four processes: risk identification, risk quantification, risk response development, risk response control. These processes are often implemented with different names, though they all arrive and achieve the same goal. Also, they are often renamed and combined, so risk identification and quantification are often treated as a single process, and the resultant process is called risk analysis or risk assessment. Risk response analysis is also often referred to as risk response planning, and risk response development is often referred to as risk management. Whether they are referred to individually or collectively, they usually maintain the requirements, tools, and output. Let's do a deep dive into each of these processes. Risk identification involves the identification and determination of the possible risks that are more likely to affect the project and properly documenting the properties and effect of each one. This process is not a once-in-a-project affair. It is meant to be carried out regularly as long as the project lasts. It also should include both internal, which are activities that can be controlled or influenced by the project team, such as cost estimation, and external, which include risks beyond the project team's control, such as business laws or government actions. Risk identification could be achieved by either identifying causes and effects, which are events likely to occur and what will be the result, or effects and causes, the outcomes to be avoided or appreciated, and the method of occurrence. The steps involved in risk quantification includes the evaluation of the risk identified in the first step and risk interactions to assess the range of possible project outcomes. Its primary aim is to determine which risks need response. It is complicated and affected by a number of factors, but not limited to them. They include the first, which are threats and opportunities that can interact in unforeseen ways, such as regular delays that could cause consideration of a new strategy, thereby reducing the total project duration. A second is a single risk could trigger multiple effects, such as a late delivery of a vital part of the project, which could result in a penalty, such as fines and payments, overrun costs, delay in scheduling, and often a poor quality product. The third is that reduced costs may favor a stakeholder at the expense of the other, so the opportunity for one, the loss for the other. And the fourth is that mathematical principles used may create a false impression and negatively affect reliability and precision. The step of risk response development in the project management activities involves clearly defining enhanced steps to utilize opportunities and respond to threats. Threat responses usually fall into one of these three categories. The first is avoidance, which has to do with eliminating a threat by eliminating the cause. All risks cannot be eliminated, but certain ones can often be eliminated. The second is mitigation, which deals with reducing the expected cost of a risk event by reducing the occurrence probability, buying insurance, and using proven technology. And the third is acceptance, which deals with acknowledging the occurrence of a risk and developing a plan to tackle the risk in cases when it occurs. Risk response control involves the execution of the developed risk management plan in response to the risk events during the course of the project. Whenever there are changes made to the project, the first three risk management processes, identification, quantification, and response, are repeated. It is a good practice to bear in mind that even the most comprehensive and thoughtfully structured analysis cannot point out all the risks and likelihood of occurrence correctly. This makes the project risk management processes an activity to be repeated often. After a clear definition of all the activities project risk management entails, it is best to have a step-by-step approach for proper execution of all involved activities. You will review many project risk management processes throughout the duration of this course. The one I will detail now consists of 7 steps, which you will build on and flesh out during our 7 weeks together. Step 1. This step states that everyone involved in the project planning process should list at least 10 possible risk items. This also helps tackle assumptions because some risks that are believed to be known are often neglected and they end up occurring. Scope creep is a perfect example because even with a perfect management process, it could still arise and cause problems. It is best to tackle it rather than ignore it. Step 2 involves collection of all the listed risks and compiling them into a single list, a master list, with duplicates removed. Step 3 is the assessment of the probability and impact of the risks outlined in the master list. This can be achieved by giving each risk a rating, either numerically or otherwise in order of vulnerability, which could be low, medium, and high. Detectability is important because risks that are not detected or hard to detect, for example, scope creep, are even more risky. Step 4 involves dividing the planning team into smaller groups and dividing the master list into portions and giving it to them. They are then to find out the warning signs for the risks. These warning signs or triggers should be documented and none should be overlooked. Step 5 involves the small groups that identified the risks to also structure out preventative measures. In Step 6, the small groups created from the planning team develop a contingency plan for the majority of the risks. This plan should include responses to be taken if a risk occurs. This is usually done for risks with high vulnerability so as to give room for proper management of the risk management process, because if the risk management process takes a lot of time and couldn't be executed, then it is a futile effort. In Step 7, which is the final step in the risk management planning process, it involves giving each risk an owner. This owner is usually responsible for tackling the risk should it occur and utilizing the approved contingency plan, though other members are advised to also be vigilant for all risks. At the end of the steps, a risk register is created. It is advisable to have this register in a tabular format so that it could carry enough information on one page. According to Bart Jute, Managing Director of Concilio, a consultancy specializing in project risk management, these 10 steps usually result in proper project risk management implementation. They include making risk management part of your project, identifying risks early in your project, communicating about risks, considering both threats and opportunities, clarifying ownership issues, prioritizing risks, analyzing risks, planning and implementing risk responses, registering project risks, and tracking risks and associated tasks. The benefits to project risk management are numerous. First, it contributes to the overall success of the project because it points out threats and opportunities which are either eliminated or utilized. Second, it results in better business outcomes through more informed decision-making activities achieved from corrections made after the risk management activities. Third, uncertainties are recognized and a forecast of possible occurrences provided. Fourth, it gives room for better control, tackles time wasting, and has greater focus on benefits. And fifth, it influences innovation and positive thinking. Hurricane Katrina and the launch of the PT Cruiser include 2 examples of the effects of negligence in understanding project risk management. Let's talk about Hurricane Katrina. During the construction and development of the levees in New Orleans, the then government didn't focus on the risks this project development would cause. Even after this, the current government ignored weather reports and warnings of failing levees and the damage the floods could bring. This led to the death of 1,300 people and the loss of over 250,000 homes, with property worth billions being destroyed. If project risk management had been implemented at the development period, the effect of weak levees and floods would have been identified and tackled, and this would have prevented this risk, Hurricane Katrina. Chrysler Corporation introduced the PT Cruiser in 2000 with the hopes of delivery via dealer's showroom in 2001. At the supposed available date, it wasn't available. Chrysler and its dealers encouraged its customers to deposit for a guaranteed delivery. Eager customers did this, but only a few cars were produced due to manufacturing constraints and poor production efforts and conditions. This resulted in a refund of all deposits to the prospective customers and a further loss of faith in Chrysler by its customers. They decided that instead of waiting for the PT Cruiser, they would patronize other vehicles from other manufacturers. If Chrysler had included project risk management in their project, the PT Cruiser, the production and delivery constraints would have been discovered and tackled, and the goals of the project, the delivery of the PT Cruiser, would have been met. Project risk management, as simple as it may seem and less regarded by many, is a key component for a better project plan, time management, cost estimation, and project scheduling. An effective project execution is also achieved through inclusion of risk management at all stages of the project, starting from the planning to implementation and finally execution. Finally, if project risk management is properly understood and a stepped approach is followed, the possibility of implementing a very successful project becomes higher because, as risk management points out, it gives you room to tackle and correct problems that could have risen at the execution and implementation of the project. The following include references used in the development of this presentation.